You're live, Chaz.
What is up, everyone? How are you doing out there? Hopefully, you had a good Memorial Day weekend. It's great to see everybody. Dustin, it's great to see you. Thank you guys for tuning into the Non Corporate Network, where we do business news right. It's entrepreneurs making news stories for other entrepreneurs. But Dustin, we got some big news to announce today. Do you want to be the first to break it to the
I don't know.
audience?
I don't know. That's a lot to handle.
I
So
know.
when it comes to branding, we saw there was a lot of podcasts called Fill in the Blank, and so figured that's not really differentiating. So since this is a show, Fill in the Blank is all about news from entrepreneurs to entrepreneurs. We decided to call it Entreprenews.
Boom.
Entreprenews.
Boom. Do it one more time. Say it one more time.
Entreprenews.
Boom.
Entreprenews. We're bringing entrepreneurs
I'm
news.
with it. I love it. It took a dash of genius from the mind of Dustin to come up with that one. So, yeah, we are back today as newly formed entrepreneurs here to bring you the top 6 stories in small business news. Me and Dustin debate these stories for 3 minutes apiece. Usually I'm right, but every once in a while Dustin's right. But yeah, we got some good stories to cover today. You ready to jump right into it?
Yeah, let's just get into it, man.
Let's do it. So obviously we know that with the COVID crisis, a lot of industries have been hit. One of which being hospitality. Hospitality is at a crossroads. We're seeing some hotels only offering up to 30% capacity in their locations. We're seeing many hotels that are removing the key cards in order to kind of be more sanitization friendly. They're using door locks. We're removing the mini bars. We're removing the throw pillows. Dustin, what is your kind of special sauce in terms of what a hospitality entity needs to do during this time? Do they need to shock the supply? Do they need to remove any kind of items that people are going to be touching more than once? What do you think is the best strategy here for them?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to vary. I love that. I mean, they are removing some stuff as long as that is reflected in the price. I mean, I've talked about it quite a bit on with other people, like in our neighborhood. They shut down the pools, but yet we're still paying HOA, and it's just like, is what you're paying for the maintenance or the actual amenities? I mean, at the end of the day,
Right.
if you're going to be cutting things that are going to save you money, pass that on to the consumers so that you can get more consumers to then bring in revenue.
Right.
I'm all for let's get rid of some of that stuff so that the price point is more affordable to more people. So now we got more people coming in. I mean, if you take the stance of we're keeping the amenities, keeping the price up so that we have less people, as long as you have good process on cleaning everything, I think that's where the success is going to be seen. But at the end of the day,
Yeah.
if there's two different routes to be had, I'm more for more people, less amenities, give more people experiences, and let them
Mm.
give their excitement over social media, and they become almost word of mouth brand ambassadors for you. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think that a lot of these hospitality, especially like I'm thinking about resorts, they've spent years and years building up their positioning as this, high-end place where they have really great customer service, where there's a lot of really cool frills that you get as a part of the stay. And, to your point, how are you going to justify charging the same amount of money if you're going to remove those things, if you're going to restrict the amenities that a visitor has access to? And so we also know that it can be crippling to drop your prices and then try to raise them again. And so, that supply shock of maybe 30% of capacity being able to stay there, I think is an interesting play because at least it creates some exclusivity around it to keep their prices high when they're not offering all of these amenities. But I mean, we've talked about this a few times with airlines. Like, you need to be able to put together marketing that builds trust with customers with all this craziness that's happening.
Yep. No, I agree. All good points. On to our next
Yeah.
story. So Walmart becoming an e-commerce juggernaut. juggernaut as in number two, of course, to Amazon, but they're coming up well in the ranks. They're overall, I mean, year to date, they're up 44%, which equates to an additional 41 billion in revenue driven through their e-commerce channels.
Mm.
I mean, I'm all for technology, digital shopping. I mean, I love seeing this. I mean, they also have a good play with so many retail locations, and that's one thing that Amazon kind of misses out on. Is sure, you can get it quick shipping, but they don't have a way that you can go pick it up in store for an hour or two, within an hour or two. Plus, if you're driving more people to the store, there's going to be something they see on sale, so you can drive incremental revenue there. I'm excited to see if they can leverage this momentum and keep it going, and maybe become a true competitor to Amazon. Obviously, they're doing a bit better than eBay, but that's the throne that they just overtook, was passing eBay in terms of e-commerce revenue. I mean, what are your
Yeah.
thoughts on Walmart and e-commerce? Should they
Oh,
continue, stick to
calm
their lane?
down, calm down, Walmart. Calm down. Okay. Congratulations. You beat eBay. Look at how many stores, like the only stores eBay's got are their little, where, like, I don't know what those stores are even called. I sold it on eBay. They didn't even sell anything in the stores. This is absolutely ridiculous that they're even going to try to celebrate beating out eBay. You guys should have beat out eBay years ago. And they're talking about this 74% surge in e-commerce products. They are also losing out on all sorts of foot traffic. So it isn't like they're just doubling their profitability during this time. They've got a couple of customers that are loyal to them. Congratulations. You're getting absolutely destroyed by Amazon. And, you're popping champagne in the fifth inning here. Get out there and beat Amazon. That's all that's the only competitor there is. There's no celebrating coming in second place when you're that far behind. They really need to step it up, and they need to really put forth some more effort into their e-commerce, because at the end of the day, they're the only entity that has enough assets, to have enough distribution, has enough products in their actual sphere to be able to even stand up next to Amazon. So calm down. You guys aren't doing as great as you think you are. I checked out Walmart.com. It's no Amazon. You got a lot of work to do.
Yep, I hear you on all fronts, but it's a step in the right direction to becoming a true competitor there. I mean, they bought Jet.com a couple years ago, and they just announced that they're discontinuing that. I think there's a lot of distribution centers. There's a lot of logistics. There's a lot of learnings that they got from Jet.com. They
Mhm.
basically bought it for the intellectual property there that they can replicate for their e-commerce business, but that'll soon go by the wayside. But let
Well,
me remind you, you got to pass number three in order to get to be number two to get to number one. So although it doesn't happen overnight, they're
well,
gonna keep scratching.
they've got their own private labeled stuff. That's the thing that I don't understand. They got into the game manufacturing their own goods compared to Amazon, who's taking it one good at a time. They already have all this distribution. They already have great margins. Like, why are they not doing better? Why are they not putting an emphasis on this digital side? I have no idea, but they need to get their butts in gear.
I'm sure it's coming. Only time will tell. On to our next one, TikTok. They just continue to be in the headlines like
Can't get enough of TikTok.
every single day. So I mean, with all the data we've been seeing them collect and disregarding child privacy laws, I mean, they're moving forward with adding new e-commerce ads where instead of a brand like Levi's is one of the first brands that partaken, well, however you say it, in this. Essentially, what they're doing is instead of Levi's being the brand that sells it, they're giving content creators on the app the ability to then push products. So maybe the person that you love following, all of a sudden they're wearing a pair of Levi's and say, hey, click on my link to go buy some. They can add in calls to actions. Essentially what they're doing is allowing content creators on the app to then allow for people to go to products or stores to purchase. What are your
Mm.
thoughts?
I mean, it's about time somebody copied something from Instagram and Facebook. I mean, it's they've been the ones doing it for years, so I think it's good to have them get a taste of their own medicine. But Dustin, obviously they want to be advertising more aggressively. They're sitting on a pile of data that they got without people actually knowing they gave it away. Of course they want to advertise with it. Of course they want to make more money. And I think that it's an interesting play that they have the creators making the advertisements. They definitely are much more native feeling than you would see on Instagram or Facebook. And so I think that's obviously a threat to that business. But at the end of the day, I really look at this as something where we need to have an eyeball on what they're doing in terms of how they're parceling this data and using it. I mean, it's just a threat to me. But I think overall, like you mentioned earlier, it took Facebook, the FBX platform in 2008, it took them 10, 12 years to get to where they are now in terms of the robust platform that they have for serving advertising. And so obviously we're seeing things just happen at such a more rapid rate. And so I think TikTok's riding the coattails of the trail that Facebook has already paved, and so it's really reducing their overhead to get these things out the door and get this product out the door. And it'll be interesting. I mean, I think it lowers the barrier to entry of what it takes for other social media players to come into the space, and so it's healthy competition to otherwise monopolistic Facebook, and so I can always get behind that, but. I think that there needs to be some kind of government probe of TikTok, just like there was a Facebook, or we're going to be in hindsight mode, looking back, going, "Oh crap, we should have done something about that."
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing that made Facebook explode was, I mean, the fact that they didn't monetize or have ads for the longest time. I mean,
It's
Zuckerberg
true.
held off. I
That's
mean, it'll
true.
be interesting to see what user growth does as TikTok continues to roll out more advertising. I'm sure they're
Yeah.
going to have more ads show up in between, more placements, and so by using the creator route, I mean, it might look less disruptive, so they might still continue
Right.
on with the user growth, but I mean, only time will tell. The fact
Yeah.
of the matter is they're doing things to monetize the platform, which is what they need to do in order to not end up like Vine.
Well, people are expecting ads, that's just something that we're conditioned into now. So that's one thing TikTok has going for them. They don't have to stay cool for 2 years before they can start running ads. It's something that's already across every social platform. So it's not necessarily something that's super disruptive.
Yep, no, I agree. And so moving on to our next topic, consumers have been recently polled by Groupon and various other polling groups. 75% of people said they're going to be more mindful of shopping local. I mean, it's something that has been in the news a lot. We need to shop more local. We rely on other countries too much. I'm all for it. People
Fingers
are quick to
crossed.
respond to polls and say they're going to do it. It all sounds good until you got to pay that extra couple bucks to shop local. And then it's like, hey, I could actually get a free Starbucks if I were just to get this on Amazon or get something that was made in China. So it's I hope that the trend goes that way. I don't think it will. I think it'll end up being 10% actually do buy more local. But I mean, what are your thoughts on these early polls as things are opening back up?
Yeah, I mean, I'll believe it when I see it. We've got plenty of over 80% of Americans are financially at risk right now. And so, as much as I'd like to think that people are going to err on the side of small business, it comes down to what's going to be the most price and cost effective method. And I mean, I've read some research that talks about how people are willing to spend up to 30% more for convenience. And so, when you have a very rudimentary technology that a small business is using compared to something like Amazon or a big player, the customer experience is night and day. And so now you're talking about having to spend more for a worse experience for the same product. And it probably takes longer to get shipped to you. It becomes very difficult to see a scenario where people prefer to do that, even if they are trying to support a small business. I think it's definitely something where I think that the ethos is there, and maybe there's some incentives there in terms of tax. But I know that the other side of the coin too is we talked about a story a couple weeks ago where the sweet spot of discounting was around 25, 30%. And so these bigger businesses have more flexibility to discount, and they're not going to destroy their margins or their profitability. And so they have such an upper hand in terms of being able to discount the same products, being able to, have a more effective supply chain, more effective technology. It's just tough for me to see a world where people are really going to use small businesses unless the bigger businesses kind of do like an Etsy type of play where it's like more of a marketplace of small businesses like Fiverr, Upwork. I see things like that promoting small businesses, but not necessarily these siloed distributions of just solely small business.
Yeah, I mean, a couple things that you said, really loved. The biggest thing is the experience. I think there are two things that businesses can do to impact that experience. And one,
Mm,
there's nothing more frustrating than looking for something. The store says they have it, you go to the store and it's not actually in stock. So if
right.
stores can figure out how to tie their inventory feed to their actual online presence, I think
Agreed.
one, people will be able to look at availability and see if they can get it in 20 minutes going up the road rather than buying on Amazon, waiting an hour or
Agreed.
two or a day. And then outside of that, it's like we talked about in previous episodes where show people where the shipment is at, show where the order process is at, like let people have some insight there. I think if retailers can do those two things, that 70% I think will ring more true. Just work on the customer experience and you'll make more customers happier and see
Oh
repeat
yeah.
business.
Oh yeah. No, absolutely. Are we on to our next story? Was that the bell?
Yes, sir. That was the bell.
Okay, so here's some good news for everybody. Robocalls are on the way out. Those really fun calls where it's just a recording talking at you on the phone. In April, the calls were down to 2.9 billion per month, which is down from in February, they're at 4.9 billion. So we're definitely seeing a tremendous drop in these automated phone calls over the last few months. 1991, these calls became illegal, and so I mean it's hard to enforce this. But I'm curious what your thoughts are, Dustin, on history repeats itself, and so this automated form of non-personalized contact is illegal and is just now kind of starting to curb. We've got all sorts of other mediums for communicating from a marketing standpoint besides phone calls. We've got email, we've got text message, we've got social chat, we've got all sorts of stuff. So, how do you think this story plays out? Are they ever going to get to zero? And because 2.9 billion is still a lot. And then, how do you think this is going to affect other more marketing focused, I don't know, other mediums of communication, I guess?
Yeah, I mean it's I'd be interested to see how many of those robocalls actually work. Like they have to have a
Can't
point
be
zero zero
many.
zero 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 1% conversion rate. So I don't know if it's worth the time.
Yeah,
But as you mentioned, I mean, it became a law in 1991 and here we are, what, 30 years later. So yeah, I think it'll unfold to these other channels like marketing or email automation, text automation, but we'll probably be in the year 2054 by the time it actually catches on, and by
yeah,
then we'll have something in us that will get our thoughts out of our mind, and then it'll be a whole other automation thing where people can put thoughts into your head, whatever it may be. I mean, obviously not that scary, but obviously the law takes a lot of time to catch up with
yeah.
reality. Um, I think what it boils down to though is those calls. There's no personalization. It's just calling anyone and everyone on a list. Whereas
Right.
work on your first party data. Sure, a an email blast that goes out to anyone and everyone that can be pretty spammy. But if you collect a little bit of data and figure out who people are and come up with more personalized messaging, I think that's where the sweet spot's
Yeah.
going to be. I mean, I don't think that in the next 5 years that there's going to be any regulation that comes out against email, text message stuff. I mean, text message is so brand new in the overall grand scheme of things that,
Right.
like I said, it's going to take 20 years before
Yeah.
the federal law can catch on to what loopholes people are going through, how they're abusing it, and then come up with regulation. And by then, it's like they're new loopholes, and it's just a cat and mouse game.
Yeah.
But
No,
I'm just
I
happy
think
that the
you mentioned
robocalls are
the
stopping.
personalization. The personalization piece is huge. I mean, the reason this is illegal is because so many people were so up in arms about it. I'm having dinner with my family and I'm getting calls off the charts of some Chinese recording of something I don't even know about. And it's like, okay, well, let's make it illegal. So, I mean, if you're really personalizing something and hitting the pain point and specifically reaching out to the right person, I doubt they're going to be super upset about it. I mean, don't call them right as they're sitting down to eat dinner with their family, but yeah, I think that that's the reason why it's illegal in the first place because it's upsetting people. Um, Word. Okay. Well, our final story. Obviously, we've talked a lot about remote work. Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg came out and said that in the next 50 or in the next 5 to 10 years, over 50% of Facebook will be working fully remote. He also mentioned that they were going to adjust the pay rates of their employees based on where they're living and what the cost of living looks like where they are. And I thought that was kind of interesting. The other thing that I saw was actually a tweet from the CEO of Shopify. I'm just going to read it because I think this is a very interesting point that he makes. He says, as of today, Shopify is a digital, and this is on May 21st. He said, as of today, Shopify is a digital by default company. We will keep our offices closed until 2021 so that we can rework them for this new reality. And after that, most will permanently work remotely. Office centricity is over. I'm interested what your thoughts are. I know that's a lot to unpack, Dustin, but do you think that office centricity is over? And how do you feel about this new system of working remotely and compensating people based off where they are?
Yeah, I think there's going to be a growing trend there. I think there'll still be something to be said to work at the office, but I think that's where you know, suites will come up, work like Workuity and other places where you can kind of just share rooms or desks or whatever it may be. But I mean, at the end of the day, there's more and more people that are wanting to work remote. The thing that I don't like
Yeah.
is that Zuckerberg is going to trying to just pay based off of where you live. You getting paid is based on the value you bring to the company, not how much you're paying bills and all that. Like, if you're bringing something that's valuable to the company, you should get paid for it. It doesn't matter where you're performing that task or that job. I mean, I don't see where the justification is there. I mean, they have a campus where literally they have 5-star chefs. You get free food 24/7. I mean, there's so much they give away. I think people
Yeah.
would be more excited to take some of those away rather than pay someone less, and it affects their check every check that they get. So I think that
Yeah.
there's some thinking to do there. What are your
Well,
thoughts?
yeah, I'll tell you, these things all have something in common. We got brunch, avocado toast, co-working spaces. I look at this as something where if you're a millennial, these are things that you are attracted to. And so I see a new normal where you can be working at Pandora and sitting next to the person that's working at Apple, and you're sitting at the same table in a co-working space in some kind of similar campus format to what you see with Apple and Google and these big people kind of just combining multiple businesses into one space like that, where it almost becomes an option of, okay, I've got a couple meetings I got to be at on Tuesday, but I don't need to come in the rest of the days. I see a new normal where things like that become more accepted. It drops the overhead, and it's kind of like crowdsourcing office space where all these businesses will pay less to be in that building, and still have flexibility to get people in the office if they need to have a big meeting or they need to see each other face to face.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what it is. I think it's more of a generational thing, but as the younger generations get older, I think this is going to be more prevalent. One thing that you did say, and on the final thoughts, that's kind of interesting though.
Yeah,
You have Apple, you have Google that are sitting at the same table. I wonder how many potential collaborations or partnerships could be created because there's just like, hey, have you ever thought of
right.
that? And then that person runs it up the chain. It's like, oh yeah, we never thought of that. So who knows? Through this, we could see a ton of innovation happen and just a different way that
I hope
companies
so.
work together. On the other end, I
No,
mean,
I hope
trade
so.
secrets as well are kind of at risk, but yeah, we'll see.
Well, and another new normal is collaborating via trade. Thank you, Avantage, for sponsoring the episode today. If you haven't heard of Avantage yet, it's a place where you can trade your excess capacity. Everybody that's listening, you probably need an accountant or a bookkeeper or a lawyer or a business coach or a marketing professional. And so why not get it on trade, get it for free pretty much. You don't have to exchange currency, you just exchange services. It's a great way to support local. It's a great way to save a little bit of money and get something that you need. So check out Avantage.com if you guys are interested. If that sounds like a good plan to you, and you get $150 of free credit if you sign up today. So check them out. Get $150 to spend for literally just for creating an account. So super awesome that they're doing this, and thank you, Sean, for the support. And thank you guys for taking a listen and checking us out today. Again, Entreprenews. Thank you guys for being with us, and thank you for tuning into the Non-Corporate Network. My name's Chaz Vandemotter.
Dustin Trout.
Do you have anything else that you want to say to the people before we get out of here, Dustin?
Nope. Just go rise, grind, repeat. Make it a good day.
We're already halfway through the week, so we'll be back Friday. Thank you guys for being with us. Leave your comments, leave your stories. We will add them to our queue. We'll debate them. And yeah, we got a couple more awesome stories coming on Friday, so don't miss out. We will see you guys then, bright and early. Until then,